October 28, 2022, 4:57 a.m., Puerto Rico. 29-year-old cryptocurrency developer Nikolai Mushegian tweets, verbatim, "The CIA, Mossad, and the pedophile elite are running some kind of sex trafficking and blackmail business out of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. They're going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who's a spy. They're going to torture me to death." 4 hours and 18 minutes later, his body was found on Condado Beach in San Juan. The official cause of death was drowning. Police found no signs of foul play. This is a story of 3 deaths, 3 crypto entrepreneurs, 3 sets of circumstances that haunt them, and one question the industry still hasn't answered. When billions of anonymous funds are behind your technology, how safe is your life? Nikolai Mushegian was born in 1993 in Lexington, Kentucky. His parents were scientists, émigrés from the Soviet Union. He had a mathematical mindset from childhood. In school, he was an orchestra conductor and multi-instrumentalist. He studied computer science at Carnegie Mellon University. In 2020, he donated $1 million to the university for a research program on decentralized technologies. Mushegian wasn't just a crypto guy. He was one of the people who built the foundations of decentralized finance. He co-founded MakerDAO, the largest decentralized lending protocol. He developed the DAI stablecoin, used by millions of people. He was one of the world's first smart contract security experts. In 2016, he and his team discovered a critical vulnerability in the MakerDAO protocol, just weeks before the same vulnerability destroyed a competing project, the DAO, for $60 million. He literally saved the company from collapse. Rune Christensen, co-founder of MakerDAO, wrote after his death, "Nikolai was one of the few in the early days of Ethereum and smart contracts who could have predicted the possibility of hacks. Without him, Maker would have been destroyed." In 2018, Mushegian left MakerDAO. Publicly, he did so due to disagreements with the protocol's direction. Specifically, the company began collaborating with traditional financial institutions, accepting real-world assets as collateral, and engaging with regulators. For Mushegian, a staunch crypto anarchist, this was a betrayal of the original idea. He resigned. For the next 4 years, he lived in different countries and worked on his projects. By 2022, his new project was called Rico, a decentralized stablecoin which he built as a spiritual successor to DAI, but without the compromises, without dependence on traditional assets, without interaction with government agencies, without trust management. This, Mushegian said, was precisely what posed a threat to him. Any real decentralized monetary system is a direct threat to the central bank's monopoly on issuance. Mushegian was a cautious man. He didn't seek publicity. He had almost no presence on social media. When he did write something, it was to the point. What happened in the final months of his life? In the summer of 2022, Mushegian began publishing increasingly alarming messages. In September, he wrote, "3 possible futures for me. First, assassinated by the CIA. Second, a brain-damaged CIA slave. Third, the worst nightmare of those who have harmed me." He wrote about his ex-girlfriend, whom he believed to be an intelligence agent. He wrote about a conspiracy to compromise him. He wrote that someone was trying to destroy his new project, a decentralized stablecoin called Rico, which he envisioned as a hedge against state influence in the financial system. These posts provoked mixed reactions in crypto circles. Some colleagues said he was going through a psychological crisis and needed help. Others said Mushegian was too smart to dismiss his comments as paranoia. On the night of October 28th, he was living in a $6 million home in a fashionable neighborhood of San Juan. Condado Beach was just a few blocks away. The beach is known in Puerto Rico for its strong undertows. A hurricane had destroyed warning signs several weeks earlier. Numerous tourists had drowned there for years. The body was found near the water, fully clothed, with a wallet in his pocket, a small abrasion on the skull. The official version of the police department's homicide department, an accident, no signs of violence. An autopsy was supposed to clarify the cause. Its results, according to journalists who investigated the case back in 2025, were never officially published. The case was closed as an accidental drowning. His father, who traveled to Puerto Rico out of concern for his son's health shortly before his death, says the death was not the result of violence. What remains unanswered? A tweet 4 hours and 18 minutes before his death. Specific. Addressed. Mentioning a precise geographic region, Puerto Rico and the Caribbean, as the location of the alleged operation. And in February 2026, the U.S. Department of Justice declassified some documents in the Jeffrey Epstein case. They contain information about his investments in cryptocurrency infrastructure and his connections to people in the industry. Epstein Island, in the U.S. Virgin Islands, is located approximately 110 kilometers from where Mushegian was found. Coincidence? Officially, yes. What actually happened is unknown. Now, the second story. Another country, another year, another amount. December 2018, Jaipur, India. 30-year-old Gerald Cotton, founder and CEO of Quadriga CIIX, Canada's largest cryptocurrency exchange, was hospitalized complaining of abdominal pain. The diagnosis? Complications of Crohn's disease. He died in the hospital on December 9th. His young wife, Jennifer Robertson, with whom he had arrived on their honeymoon, was by his side. His body is embalmed in India and transported to Canada. He is buried in Nova Scotia in mid-December. The company only publicly announced his death on January 14th, 5 weeks later. Until then, the exchange was operating as usual, accepting client funds and processing transactions. It was as if Cotton were alive. Then his wife filed an affidavit. It reads, Gerald was the only one who knew the passwords to the exchange's cold wallets. Cold wallets are offline cryptocurrency storage facilities protected from hacking. They held the money of more than 76,000 clients. The total amount was 250 million Canadian dollars. The passwords died with him. A collective gasp was how one crypto community member who knew Cotton personally described the reaction. Seriously? Are you sure? The court appointed an independent monitor, Ernst & Young. Their task? To find the money, sort out the exchange's structure, and pay creditors as much as possible. What they find changes everything. The cold wallets were empty, all of them. The cryptocurrency had been transferred to other wallets and exchanges long before Cotton's death. Quadriga had no official bank account. All transactions were handled through intermediaries. The company was run literally from Cotton's personal laptop, from his home in Nova Scotia. The financial statements didn't reflect reality. By all indications, it was a Ponzi scheme. New clients' money was used to pay off old ones until the balance collapsed. An additional detail, Quadriga co-founder Michael Patron was later identified as having a criminal record. Under a different name, he had previously been convicted in the U.S. of debit card fraud and attempted hacking. He was known in the crypto community under a pseudonym. Those he worked with were unaware of his real past. Patron left the company long before its collapse, maintaining his business reputation under a new name. Separately, Ernst & Young investigators established that Cotton created fictitious accounts on his own exchange. Using these accounts with fake balances, he traded cryptocurrency, essentially betting with money that didn't exist. Clients' real money was used to cover losses. It's a classic Ponzi scheme, wrapped in crypto speak. At the time of Cotton's death, the exchange had been unable to process withdrawal requests for several months. Clients were waiting for their money for weeks. These were called technical problems. When all this came to light, people began to look more closely at the circumstances of Cotton's death. On the death certificate issued by an Indian hospital, his last name was misspelled, Cotton, instead of Cotton. No autopsy was performed. Crohn's disease, while it can be serious, is extremely rare as the immediate cause of death in someone in their 30s. The doctor who examined Cotton told Vanity Fair that the actual cause of death, as well as the circumstances surrounding it, remain unclear. In December 2019, a law firm representing Quadriga's creditors sent an official letter to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The letter requested that Cotton's body be exhumed and a post-mortem examination be performed to confirm his identity and cause of death. The RCMP did not officially comment on the request. The exhumation was never carried out. What is now known for certain, Quadriga CIIX was a fraud. Clients lost money. Cotton operated the exchange as a personal fund and risked other people's money in margin trades. There is no documentary evidence that he is alive. His wife says she held his hand at the moment of death. His body was returned to Canada and buried. But the money, $250 million, has still not been found. Now, the third story, the most unexpected of the three. April 4th, 2023, 2:35 a.m., San Francisco East Cut, a street near the bay. Passers-by find a man with stab wounds. They call an ambulance. The man is hospitalized. He dies. His name is Bob Lee. He's 43 years old. He's the founder of Cash App, one of the most popular payment apps in the US. He's also the former CTO of Square, Jack Dorsey's company. He's an advisor to MobileCoin and one of Silicon Valley's most renowned technologists. Bob Lee's murder initially sparked a wave of crypto conspiracy theories. A man with his knowledge and connections died at 3 a.m. on the streets of a wealthy tech city. Theories immediately surfaced online. Murdered for his knowledge of the crypto industry. Killed as an informant. Killed on orders from influential people who were threatened by his technology. These theories spread with the speed typical of cases involving wealth, technology, and death. Lee was closely associated with MobileCoin, a cryptocurrency designed to ensure complete anonymity of transactions. This immediately evoked associations with government agencies, intelligence agencies, and interests threatened by such technologies. His name and history provided ideal fodder for theories. Meanwhile, another conversation flared up. San Francisco has a problem with street crime. Bob Lee was found on the street at night. Several politicians and commentators immediately seized on his death as evidence of the city's utter decay and the failure of local government. This narrative gained momentum until the suspect's arrest. Neither version turned out to be true. 9 days after the murder, San Francisco police arrested a suspect. His name is Nima Momeni, 40, the owner of a small IT consulting company in Emeryville. Momeni and Lee knew each other, personally, through a mutual circle of acquaintances. On the night of the murder, they were together in Momeni's car. Momeni stabbed Lee 3 times, including in the heart. The knife was a kitchen Perry knife with a 4-inch blade, the same type used by Joshua Stimpson in the Molly McLaren case. Momeni drove Lee to a secluded area by the bay and abandoned him there. The motive was reconstructed from phone messages and witness statements. The night before the murder, Momeni Kazar's sister was at a party where Lee was also present. Drugs were used. Kazar later claimed something had happened. Momeni staged an aggressive video call with Lee, demanding an explanation. The conflict escalated. The murder was the result of personal vendetta, not a corporate conspiracy or crypto-related shady dealings. In December 2024, a jury found Nim Momeni guilty of second-degree murder. The sentence was 15 years to life in prison. Momeni is filing a motion for a retrial. The sentencing date remains pending as of early 2026. So, 3 deaths. 1 accident with an unexplained tweet. 1 death while fleeing financial ruin. 1 solved domestic murder that initially appeared to be a crypto conspiracy. What unites all 3 stories isn't the death itself. What unites them is how the crypto industry responds to death. In a space where people build anonymous, decentralized systems, resist state control, and work with literally billions of untraceable assets, paranoia is a professional deformity. Mushegian built technologies that could theoretically threaten monopolistic control over the monetary system. Cotton held hundreds of millions of other people's money without any oversight. Lee worked on payment technologies of interest to intelligence agencies around the world. In such an environment, every death becomes fodder for theories, because precedents exist, because government agencies actually monitor the crypto industry, because real money creates real motives, and because some questions remain unanswered. Nikolai Mushegian wrote his last tweet at 4:57 a.m. 4 hours and 18 minutes later, he was found dead. The official ruling was an accident. The autopsy report was either not published or classified. The case is closed. His father says it's not murder. His colleagues say, we're not sure. Epstein operated in the Caribbean region mentioned by Mushegian. The empty purses of the Quadriga are still empty. Nima Momeni awaits sentencing. In the crypto world, there's never just one layer. There's always something visible and something behind the scenes. This doesn't mean there's a conspiracy behind every death. Mushegian could have drowned on a dangerous beach where drownings had occurred before him. Cotton could have died of a severe illness in a poorly equipped Indian hospital. Lee was the victim of the personal malice of a man who had nothing to do with crypto secrets. It means something different. When you build technologies that theoretically destroy government control over money, you attract attention that other developers don't. When you manage $250 million anonymous dollars without any regulation, you create risks that managers at regular financial companies don't consider. When you get killed, no one at first believes it's just a personal squabble. In this industry, paranoia isn't a weakness, but an appropriate response to the environment. The only question is where the line is drawn between healthy caution and destructive fear. Judging by Mushegian's recent months, that line has long been blurred. What exactly blurred it remains an open question.